Greetings, friends, and welcome back to Backyard Astronomy with Gemini Brett. This is part 2, or let's call it B, of following the moon here on September 11th, 2024. I am recording from my backyard in Richmond, California, and it is now 8:53 p.m. Nighttime is the right time, so the stars have come out to play, and if you know the ecliptic plane, you really get to see how low this moon is beneath. Okay, well, first we ended with finding a spot to utilize this tree as like a midheaven tree. And so if the center of that tree is indeed due south, then we're looking at these stars in the back of the Archer currently culminating. This is Nunki here. Some draw it as kind of the feathers of the arrow that the Archer's pulling back, or maybe Archer's arrow, right? Because here is the bow. Moon is so close, and moon right now is just on the tip of the arrow on Azil. Has some draught, right? You can see the stinger of the scorpion. Let's actually turn this way a bit. And we see the scorpion here. So the moon has cleared the scorpion and is now just right on the arrow tip. It's pretty amazing. So stinger of the scorpion, arrow of the Archer, and then the knee of Ophiuchus Garofsa here triangulate the galactic center. Well, the galactic center is about 4.5 degrees south of the ecliptic plane. Right now the moon is 5 degrees south, a little bit more. The moon is just right at galactic center. It's a few degrees this way, maybe here. All right, and again, I'm not going to see them in this sky ever because I'm pointing this camera at San Francisco. But even if I was in Hawaii or other dark sky places right now, I would not be seeing galactic center. Why? Because that moon is bright. Moon appears to be full on this screen, but you already saw her shape, right? She's in the just past the waxing half, the straight line. The moon is now at 100 degrees from the sun. The sun is just at 20 degrees Virgo, and moon is 1 degree Capricorn, so like 21 degrees away. Sorry, 100 or 101 degrees away, which is let's call it square, but it's in the 11th harmonic. 4/11ths for anyone who wants to get nerdy. Okay, anyway, let's turn all the way around here. Turn with me, and we are going to see Polaris, right? So hopefully you can see this asterism of Ursa Major, the Big Dipper, on the left-hand side of your screen, right? Fun games with Dipper is follow the arc to Arcturus, and then we can spike to Spica, or we say speed on to Spica, who's now beneath the horizon and under the beams of the sun. But moving the other way from the Dipper, the two stars of the cup, I call them the pointer sisters, they point to Polaris, okay, which is the tail star of the little bear, or the end star of the little Dipper. You see these four? 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the cup, and then the handle, or the mysteriously long tail of the little bear. Well, this star matters so much because in our day and age, Polaris, pole star, is very close to the North Celestial Pole, so that's where Earth's North Pole points, okay? Hey, Izzy, we're just talking about the North Pole. She gets so excited about Santa Claus. Right, so there you go. And so as the Earth is spinning west to east, what we notice in the northern sky is all of the stars doing counterclockwise turns. So right now, Cassiopeia here is kind of in the 3 shape. Well, in 6 hours or a quarter turn, Cassiopeia is going to be up here like an M, and then over here like an E, and down beneath like a W. Okay, well now we're north, and it's going to get a little bit ugly, friends, because what I'm going to do is I'm just going to turn the camera opposite North Star and align it. So I align my heart to North Star. I usually do this with like a partner, okay, where like I would ask permission, grab your shoulders, put you between me and North Star. I'd have you mark something behind my head, then grab my shoulders and just turn me around. But right now my only friend is the lens. And so I'm just doing my best to see the glass of the lens beneath Polaris. It does not seem even to the horizon, but we can fix that once we come over here. Okay, let's see how we did. Right, and so I can see actually the center markers of the frame are the center of the tree. Cool. And so I can see it's like these stars that are typically drawn like in the cape of the archer that are currently culminating. Well, so again, what do I mean by culminating? Well, the meridian is a north-south circle. It goes through the North Star, or at least through the North Celestial Pole, so near Polaris. Goes right above my head at the zenith. It comes down to due south on the horizon, right? And it just marks the south line. It divides the eastern sky, which ups. So as we go look over here, all this stuff, like the sea goat, see these two horns here? And the two stars of the fishy tail, right? The sea goat's currently swimming through that tree, right? Followed by the water bearer. This is the water jug. These four that kind of seem like the Aquarius glyph, right? It's the water bearer's head and the jug kind of holding near his shoulders. Most draw it, okay? You can see the ringed one, by the way, Saturno. Coming up here, very bright Saturn, brightest. We will see Saturn is when Sun is opposite Saturn, because that means Earth is passing Saturn by in the middle of Saturn's so four and a half month-ish retrograde period. So this is very bright Saturn that we see right now, and Saturn's on the way up. He's on the eastern side of the sky, right? So I'm used to standing somewhere else and talking about this tree as the midheaven, by the way. So I might make that mistake, but right now we've moved to a different place so we can work with this tree, because we're working with Capricorn, tropical Capricorn, constellational Archer, which means low in the sky, right? And so we couldn't see the moon on my midheaven tree before, and so here we are. Isabel? My dog's eating burrs as if there's a kind of snack. I really got to get that plant out of here. Okay, pardon the interruption, friends. So I have recently mapped the zodiac degrees of many, many, many ecliptic stars, and in that, Cape of the Archer, like Albalda is, let's see, this bright star here, and Albalda is at our day and age 16.5 degrees tropical Capricorn. And so I can just see that if the middle of this tree is indeed the midheaven, then that star is already a couple of degrees past. So if it's at 16.5 Capricorn, I would suggest that the midheaven right now is 18.5 tropical Capricorn. So I'm going to cast a chart. It's now 9:02 p.m. on September 11th, 2024, Richmond, California. And I'm going to find that the midheaven is 18 degrees and 27 minutes tropical Capricorn. Izzy, did you hear me say Capricorn? That means wisdom. Don't eat that, honey. Thanks for the reminder. I got to take that out. Good golly. Good golly, doggy. Do you see that, how that works, right? We learn the degrees of the ecliptic stars. We align ourselves to the midheaven, which is where the ecliptic intersects the meridian above the ground. If you live north of the Tropic of Cancer, like I do, that will always be due south. If you live south of the Tropic of Capricorn, that will always be due north. In between the tropics, it gets a little more interesting, okay? Like at the equator, it's north for half of the day and south for half of the day. The sun culminates in the north for half of the year. The sun culminates in the south for half of the year. And we're just coming up on equinox time, which will be the sun crossing the equator and heading south. All right, well, the moon's not only so far south of the equator right now, as I was discussing in the previous video, but she's even 5 degrees further south than sun could ever dream to go. Moon significantly out of bounds south, 5 degrees plus south of the Tropic of Capricorn, the southern bounds of the sun's path, the ecliptic plane, the heart of the zodiac. Okay, well, let's talk about how to find the ascendant in another video this week. I think we've had enough for tonight. But hopefully now you see how to find the ecliptic. Align yourself to the meridian. Make a north-south line. And the most precise way to do that is to work with the shortest shadow of the day. At solar noon, the solar height, the shadow will be pointing due north. If you live in the northern hemisphere, due south in the southern hemisphere. It gets a little more interesting in the tropics. But either way, the midday shadow, and I'm not talking about 12 p.m. on some clock. I'm talking about halfway between sunrise and sunset, true solar noon, sun at the MC degree on a chart. That shadow is going to be drawing a north-south line on the ground. So draw that line on the ground, and then you can work with that line, right? Put a chair between yourself and Polaris. Align your camera between yourself and Polaris, as I just did. Go out with someone, align them between you and Polaris. In the southern hemisphere, Polaris, of course, is not visible. It's not an option for you, and there's no South Pole star in our day and age. Work with the midday sun. Draw that line on the ground, and then go work that line at night, right? So once you have your meridian, and from where I'm standing right now, between the mandarin and apple trees, this tree is marking my midheaven, right? So if I just let this go, you would soon see that the horns of the goat are going to come up. Now they might even come off the screen. They're still on their way up, while the archer's on the way down. And the goat is a higher constellation than the archer is, so it culminates at a higher altitude. Because it's in a higher altitude sign for the northern hemisphere experience, because Capricorn is the lowest along with Sagittarius. Sagittarius currently hosting the Scorpion, or let's say the Archer currently hosting the precession of Capricornus. No, of Capricorn. Capricornus, or Sea Goat constellation, currently hosting the precession of the sign of Aquarius. And I know that's confusing things, but in our day and age, those horns of the Sea Goat are about 5 degrees tropical Aquarius. And 5 degrees tropical Aquarius is a higher altitude degree in the northern hemisphere skies than 16.5 tropical Capricorn is. Okay, but once you start learning your star degrees, right, and you know where your meridian is, well, then you can just use your body to measure the sky and find the meridian degree. I mean, I just did it within 3 arc minutes before, right? It's a practice I cannot highly enough recommend. It will really get you in touch with how the sky works and help you meet the stars and learn the degrees of the zodiac that currently are hosting those stars' procession. Okay, so mental note to self, or you just speak to me and remind me to show you how to find the ascendant degree later on, because friends, around here, we're not going to do it by looking east. The 12th house is hidden things. See you in space, friends.